Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video we're going to be talking about Ret's severe undertuning problem that's currently happening, as you know, some of us might have predicted. And well, what do we have here? This is a weekly little graph that Wowhead posts from Warcraft logs, and you could sort the data in a different way or whatever. This is essentially looking at the Mythic raid from people who play the game very well, right? From the highest of high-end players, right? So when everybody's playing well, you can see right here down at the bottom. Now, Augmentation Evoker is technically lower. There's a bunch of stuff broken with Aug on logs. Aug is higher than Ret in reality. I don't know how much higher, somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the top third, but Aug is higher than Ret in reality. Retribution not only lasts by a pretty good margin, I would say, and there's an even bigger issue with this. Now, let's go back. So if you follow the channel, you will know that last patch, what I said was that Ret needed a 15% damage buff to be competitive next season once people started getting gear. 15%. Now, to be fair, most people who watch this channel have learned that I do not say things that are crazy, and I'm not wrong very often. And most people believe me, but there were naysayers. There are people who think 15% sounds outrageous. However, you can simply just look at this and see that 15% is not that bad. Let's keep in mind, this is after an initial 3% buff. So it's only 12% more that I would say Ret needs to be competitive. Competitive meaning like towards the top. I'd have to go back and check my exact words, but I believe I said 15% to be competitive, 10 to 12% to be like in the middle or something like that, right? And so this is with the first 3% buff that we got, and we're still, last by a good margin. Other specs that are ahead of us are getting buffed pretty significantly, and we'll get to our next buff as well, because we did get another buff. So exciting. Now, not many Ret players at the top end, obviously, especially because some people have got it from, whatever, normal, heroic, and everything. But not many people have the legendary axe yet. This is going to help a little bit. When I first said the 15% number, I didn't know there was going to be a legendary axe when I first said that. That'll help a little bit. Not by a lot, but that'll help close some of the gap. Right, but of course DKs and warriors are going to get this as well, right? This weapon as well, and so it's not going to close any gap on them, and you may never get the axe, right? In which case you're not going to be helped at all. If you never get the legendary axe, you will never be helped. You will always be down here. So this is with a 3% buff. So by my standards, to be competitive, Ret would need another 12%. To be in the middle, we'd need at least another 7% from the time of this graph. And well, what do we have here? Right as I was about to make this video, the patch notes came out. And that's what we're getting, guys. Be super excited here. Everyone else is getting some interesting things happening to their class for their buffs. Windwalker even got the note in theirs. Preservation has a note. Oh, what does Ret get? Another 3%, guys. We got another 3%. So as you can see, that 3% would almost get us out of last place. But wait, there's more. Fire Mage, Frost Mage, and Monk are the ones directly ahead of us. Let's see. Oh, Fire Mage, Frost Mage, and Monk also gotten very nice buffs. So Ret is still way at the bottom. Okay? This is laughable. I have a conspiracy theory here. I'll share that towards the end of the video. I don't think the dev in charge of this has any idea what they're doing, though, essentially. So we're up to 6%. Now, to be fair, another 4%, and these other classes not getting buffs, which they are, but another somehow they are, right? Everyone's getting buffed but us. So because of that, the 15 number might actually be higher. The 10% number might actually be higher because everyone else is magically getting buffed as well. So we would now need another 4% to get to my initial number of middling. However, like I said, all these classes got buffed too. So that if everyone else is getting buffed and we're just at a baseline or whatever, we have to match their buffs plus our buffs. We need to match other specs buffs plus 15% to be top end, plus 10% to be middling, right? So the 15 and 10% number aren't even going to cut it anymore because everyone else is getting buffed. To be fair, Arms Warrior didn't get any announced buffs, so maybe we could pass them at some point. I think they think this axe is going to do a lot more damage than what it's going to do. No idea what they're thinking there because people have already mathed it out, and it doesn't do that much more damage than just a regular mythic weapon does with a cantrip on it. So I don't know what they're thinking there, but oh well, I guess. Somehow they think that's going to make the difference. It's not going to make the difference. It will help. It does do something, right? I'm not saying it does nothing. I'm saying it doesn't make up this dramatic of a difference, okay? So with everyone else getting buffs, Ret getting very minor damage ability buffs, and the reason why is Ret getting buff to all damage while these other specs are getting more intricate buffs? That's because the person in charge of doing Ret right now doesn't know what they're doing. And I have I want to just put it out there. I have no knowledge of this. I don't know anybody that works at Blizzard. This is all conspiracy theory. But I believe that they had a different dev come in and work on Retribution Paladin during the rework. Specifically, I personally think it's whoever works on Demon Hunter, because I think they changed the spec in a lot of ways at the baseline level to try to behave like Demon Hunter. And a lot of that has gotten pulled back, of course, since the initial rework, damage-wise. And then also giving a lot of survivability to Ret during that rework as well. And then that person left. And again, I think it's the DH one, right? They went back to do Demon Hunter rework. And Ret has been left back in the hands of whoever normally does it. I believe it's the same person who probably does Holy and Prot for Paladin. I think there might just be like a Paladin dev. This is just conspiracy theory. No idea. And they have no idea what they're doing. So they're giving a 3% buff because they're also very, very cautious with buffs. They don't want to overbuff Ret and have them be Omega strong again. So they're not going to do a 10% buff to Ret. They're cautious about it. They're nervous about that because they don't know what they're doing. And so basically Ret is terrible in raid. Now you might be like, well, I'm doing good at Mythic Plus. Ret is pretty decent in Mythic Plus, man. Obviously I have a raid graph up here, right? So I am primarily talking about the raid. Ret is decent in Mythic Plus. We have a 1 minute cooldown, and so we have a cooldown for like every single pull. And that allows us to be at least competitive. And we also have super high survival, even without an augmentation invoker in the group. We're going to survive most things. And so, we are good at Mythic Plus. Like, it's not, I'm not saying we're terrible at Mythic Plus. Our overall AoE damage is okay. It's not the top end of top ends. But, it is like top third or middling, right? And so Ret is fine in Mythic Plus. That's not the major issue here. And buffing this ability damage flatly instead of doing intricate buffs is also going to maybe make Ret overperform a Mythic Plus at some point because they're not actually addressing the actual issues. Now, of course, on this channel and many other places, you'll see it, talked about that Ret needs Mastery reworked so that way they have a buff to actually scale. And there's a hot debate about scaling or whatever, what scaling means. Scaling means something to different people is what I found out. I didn't ever actually know that. But effectively, Ret does not get very much stronger, even when you put on a lot more gear. Your eye level goes up, and your damage doesn't go up by very much, which is not good. So there's no like enhanced scaling from stats, especially secondary stats. And so that's why eventually you'll get to a point where in this patch where all of your stats are pretty much the same. Everything's pretty much equal. Mastery still kind of stinks because it's such bad scaling. But all your stats are pretty much just the same. They don't mean anything, really. Nothing really helps you. And it's also worth noting with this graph, we're not at full item level yet. There's not many people that are 489 item level or whatever. And so we're not going to get much stronger with our item level going up, but these other specs are going to get stronger with their item level going up. And so this gap is just going to be big. Like I said, before everyone else got buffed at a baseline level, we needed a 15% buff Other specs have been buffed since then. That number is bigger now. This is the biggest. I can't say it's the biggest gap ever because I don't know that, right? But it's a laughable gap for modern WoW for Ret Paladin to be this bad. And I really I wish it would be a wake up call that somebody who knows about damage needs to be in charge of doing Ret Paladin stuff. Like Demon Hunter, Demon Hunter only has 2 specs. Maybe they can help do the Ret Paladin thing full time or something. But Ret Paladin needs somebody doing it that knows and understands what they're doing, because this is laughable in this year. In an age where people who play retail WoW are like a lot of times very sweaty and like trying to min max and do this and that. And yet you can't have a spec that's just so much worse than every other spec in the game. It's unheard of in this like modern age. Now in like classic, it was normal. Okay, especially with Ret, right? In original classic WoW, Ret was very bad. If you were Paladin, you had to heal, right? But that's not how this game is anymore. And so to have Ret be this bad, this laughably bad. I know Monk has been in this situation before as well too. I don't want to like leave out some of the other specs. Windwalker Monk, Survival Hunter has been in this situation before. I think Feral Druid has been in this position before, but they've also had time to shine. Ret in the past, 4 to 6 years has had like 3 total weeks to shine ever. So yeah, it's pretty laughable. It's pretty terrible. It's all on Blizzard, honestly. Not having someone doing this that knows what they're doing. I'm sorry, whoever does this, if it hurts your feelings, oh well, I guess, but you don't know what you're doing. And it's laughable for this, and it's laughable that you think that the answer is all ability damage by 3%. That's going to do it. Great job. Sarcastic, of course. So obviously, I'm not very happy. I'm not actually having fun in raid anymore. It's kind of like I've played more Mythic Plus this season than I have maybe ever, but I'm not having any fun in raid at all. And if you play Ret Paladin and you primarily play the game to raid, I imagine you're probably not having the best time either. So it's still cool. It's still cool progressing Mythic bosses. I'll still be happy getting cutting edge and everything like that. That part's cool, but like you want to have good personal performance too. Again, that's like the modern day and age. You want to have good performance too. I laugh because like I can get like a high parse and I'm like still like almost last in damage, and like there's people with like green parses or blue parses or whatever way ahead of me in damage, and it's just, or even a gray parse for certain specs, right? And it's just so laughably bad. How did it get this bad? And how do you think that the answer is 3% more damage? Like, it's stupidity. That's all it is. So I want to do an update on this. I'm not gonna keep making videos on this. It's terrible, and it's not gonna change unless somebody else is in charge, because whoever's doing it doesn't know what they're doing. So that's it for this one, guys. Please subscribe to the video. I know it's a little bit negative, but what else can I do when I'm talking about Ret Paladin and raid? Please subscribe to the channel. Helps me out. And other than that, everybody have a good one.